Hello and welcome to Mansion Interviews, a podcast that gives me an excuse to talk to interesting people and gives you an opportunity to improve your English and your listening skills. Remember, you can improve your listening with comprehension questions and find some help with difficult vocabulary from this interview on our website at inglespodcast.com. And today I'm joined by two very interesting people, Sheila and Pete, two expats who now live in Spain but moved here from the UK a few years ago. Sheila and Pete, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation.
You're very, very welcome. Sheila, where were you and Pete living in the UK before you came to Spain?
We were living in Southsea, which is a small part of Portsmouth, right by the beach. We could walk to the beach in about 5 minutes. And yeah, we had a very nice life there, close to local shops and amenities.
And now you're here in Valencia. Did you choose Valencia because it's a sea city, a city near the sea?
I don't think we chose Valencia so much as Valencia chose us. I mean, Pete was the one who...
I was going to say, probably best to answer that because it was me that brought us here.
Okay, tell the story. Tell the story.
I was working in the UK as a teacher and had been for about 15, 20 years.
What did you teach?
Maths and PE. And was basically getting more and more disillusioned with the UK education system. It just required more and more paperwork and less time with the kids, which is what most people go into teaching for. So I was looking around and thought, well, I'll try working abroad. And having a family, I didn't want to travel too far away, so that limited it to Europe. And I thought the Mediterranean basin seems a good spot to choose, and basically applied for jobs all around the Mediterranean. And I was lucky enough to get the one in Valencia. So that's how we ended up here.
So you really pushed Sheila to come?
Yes. I remember I put the idea to Sheila one afternoon, and she was up for it straight away. No hesitation at all. She said, yep, I've got no problem. So I started applying for jobs, and within 2 months I had one. I had a job here in Spain. Having never set foot in Spain in my life before, I'd accepted a job.
Without even seeing the country?
Without even seeing the country, yeah.
Fantastic. And when was this, Sheila? When did you make the move? When did you come here?
I think we came
2006.
2006, yeah.
And what were you doing in the UK before you came? Were you teaching as well?
No. Before I came here, my background is basically in finance. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've worked for, a lot of blue chip companies, basically in credit control, so trying to get in the money. But, I think I made a decision to myself. The first time I travelled, I went to America for my 16th birthday. And I think the experience of travelling and going to another country, I came back and my decision was I will not stay in the UK.
Why?
So I think travel is the most amazing education you can possibly have. It's learning the cultures, the food, the people, the experiences. And life sometimes can be very short. And I just think even if you just go to the next village, or as we have done, we've spent a night in a hotel in our local city and explored it as a tourist.
That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, just travel. And, we've done that, and other people said, well, I would never have thought of doing that. But yeah, explore where you live. You just never know what you're going to experience and what you're going to find. So
the move wasn't necessarily because you hated living in the UK. You hated the rain, you hated the weather. It was more the fact that you love travelling. Is that right?
I didn't hate the UK while I was living there because I really didn't know any different. Now I live here. If somebody offered me a ticket to go back to England tomorrow, no, thank you.
Pete, how did you feel when you first arrived here in Spain? Do you remember the first week of you being here? Do you think any regrets during the first few days?
No, none at all. Actually,
did you speak Spanish when you first came?
No, never uttered a word at all in my life. As I said, I accepted a job via a phone interview, mm-hmm. and was then invited out to see the school before I actually took up the job. So we came out on a holiday, and from the minute I got out here, I just loved the place. Apart from the climate, which everybody knows about, it's the atmosphere, it's the way of life. It's much more relaxed. It's much more friendly, if you like. Haven't looked back since.
Was it the same for you, Sheila, or did you arrive here and think, oh, what have we done?
No, not for one moment. We had a few frustrations with various things, because when we arrived here, Pete was going off to work and doing work type things, and I had no job. So the first thing I had to do was furnish the apartment we had to live in. So, equating myself with Caddy 4 and bringing back copious amounts of household bits and pieces. But no, loved it from the very beginning.
How did you manage in the beginning with the language, not speaking Spanish?
I think in the very beginning, when you don't know that you don't know, things are easy. I think you just have the confidence to baffle through. I remember one instance, we bought an inflatable bed because we didn't have a bed. So I bought an inflatable bed, and the first night it developed a puncture. So I was determined to go back with my receipt and either get a replacement inflatable bed or a refund. And for some reason, they didn't have an inflatable bed, so I asked for a refund. How I did this, I have no idea, but I got what I wanted. And the thing is with language, it's communication. Okay, you may not know the language, you may not conjugate your verbs correctly and get the correct tense. However, waving your hands, drawing a picture on a serviette, you generally will get what you want.
Especially if you need to sleep.
I was going to say,
Absolutely.
I think that's probably the worst night since we've been here. Because sleeping on the floor, on a tiled floor with a flat blow-up bed was not pleasant.
It's probably okay when you're about 19 and you've been to a party, but when you've got a few decades, you actually like your creature comforts.
So there must be things that you miss about the UK. Pete, what's the thing you miss most?
Surprisingly little, I have to say. I actually miss going to Fratton Park, which sounds quite trite. But
going?
Fratton Park, it's the home ground of my football team, Portsmouth.
Oh, you miss going to see your football team?
Yeah, I was a season ticket holder before we came away, and it was enjoyable. I loved it on a Saturday afternoon. And I haven't really got into Valencia football team. It's just not the same sort of atmosphere.
Have you been to Mestalla?
I've been to Mestalla a few times, yeah, and enjoy it, but it's... I've been a Portsmouth fan since I was 5 or 6, and it's in your blood. And for me, I can't watch another football match and enjoy it in the same way as watching my own team.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Arsenal. Sheila, what do you miss most?
Absolutely nothing.
Really?
No, I feel so blessed here. I mean, the weather is fantastic, the people, the things to do. I'm very, very lucky. My close friends, they will come over. I will go over for the occasional weekend. We keep in touch with Skype. So, yeah, absolutely nothing. I'm just totally blessed being here and very, very lucky.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. So going back to when you first came over, 2006, you said? Yeah. Apart from the bed... what things would you have done differently, thinking back to when you made the move?
I think personally nothing, because I'm a very organised person, and the move was organised, orchestrated, carried through, fulfilled perfectly. And also when we did the second move down to where we live now back in July, I think the removal men were ready to employ me as a removal type person.
So you were more organised than they were?
Absolutely. The rooms had a letter on, the box had a letter on, so they picked up a box. They knew box A went in this room, box B went in that room.
You didn't colour code it?
I didn't feel the need to colour code. I thought alphabetical was sufficient, yes. And we were all checked off on the spreadsheet. They had a copy. So, yes, it all went completely smoothly. They had plenty of time for lunch, for coffee. It was all done and dusted by 5 o'clock, and couldn't have gone any smoother.
It was quite funny though. When we first came out here, we had in our minds that we wanted a 2-bedroom apartment furnished in the city, and we ended up with a 1-bedroom unfurnished apartment out in the village. So it all went to plan.
So you compromised. You compromised.
Yeah, we arrived the first day I came to start my job. The head teacher met us at the airport. And she said, one of the first things she said was, I think I found your flat, and took us straight to this apartment. Mm-hmm. And And although it wasn't what we'd envisaged, it was a perfect flat. It was lovely, and we lived there very happily for 6 years, 7 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then I just got a bee in my bonnet about moving to the sea. So a year ago, 9 months ago, we moved here.
Are you happier here than you were in the village?
I am, yes. I love being by the beach. We walk along the sea virtually every day. And for me, the open spaces, the fresh air, just looking at the sea is special.
Sheila, you might agree that Valencia is not perhaps the most organised of cities. How does your love of organisation fit in with the Spanish disorganisation?
It doesn't at all.
Doesn't bother you?
I'm one of these people when I'm standing in the queue at the bank and just watching, thinking, well, if they did this and she did that.
Yeah, that's why it must be very frustrating.
It is frustrating, but I guess because I'm retired, I have the luxury of time. If I was trying to run around in the typical 1 hour lunch break you have in England, which apparently is now 20 minutes, it would be infuriating. But, I do use it to my advantage. If I want to go to a particular restaurant, I will be there at 1:30, because if you go at 2:00 when the Spanish go, you won't get a table. But if you go at 1:30, you've got the nice table, your order's already with the kitchen. So you can turn it to an advantage.
Anything bother you, Pete, about?
No, I was going to say on that basis, I think it's an adjustment you have to make when you come to Spain is things aren't going to happen quickly. And for me, that was an easy adjustment because I'm quite laid back and can take it as it comes. But when you're here, it's going to take a while to get served. It's not a problem. It's going to take a while for things to happen. Well, as long as you've got that in your mind beforehand, then it's fine. It's if you expect it to be done instantly. And we've had lots of guests come and stay with us. So you can see they start getting itchy when they don't get served straight away, or they ask for the bill and it takes 5-10 minutes for them to come back with the bill, and you can see they're getting twitchy and can't cope. But
I've noticed that as well. I think, as you said, what you expect is, I think it's expectations. Like with so many things in life, if you have the right expectations, then you're not.
Yeah, exactly. It's a mindset, and as Sheila said, now that we're both sort of more or less retired. It does make it easier because there aren't time constraints that there would be if you were doing a 9-to-5 job.
So if you are retired, how do you both spend your time here? What's a typical day like for you, Sheila?
A typical day for me would probably be exercising on the beach, which I think is just fantastic.
Do you stand there and do yoga or just walk along it?
No, I stand there and I do my stretches. I can do abs. I can walk along the beach. It's quite amazing how many people actually, the beach can be absolutely empty and then somebody walks along and they'll literally come and stand 10 feet away and they'll stand there for 10 minutes watching you. I always thought quite interesting. So enjoying the beach, going home. I'd like to say studying Spanish for a little bit every day, but that doesn't always happen. If someone asks me to go out for coffee or lunch, that often gets a priority. Just I enjoy the space down here. So, a nice, a leisurely walk to me is probably down to the port, which would probably be a good 8 kilometres.
And then how does your day continue?
Just, a bit of domestic bliss, working on some projects. I'm trying to educate myself on finance. I've recently started making greeting cards, so I'm trying to get into that a bit more. Educating myself on nutrition because I follow a plant-based diet, so there's always new information coming out. So a lot of my days...
Plant-based diet?
Yeah.
What's that?
Plant-based is basically not eating any animal products. So no meat, no cheese, yogurt, milk, etc.
So it's more extreme than a vegetarian?
No, it's not extreme at all. I mean, everybody seems a little bit sort of freaked out when you say plant-based, but there is so much information coming through about the correlation between health and diet. And so many of the diseases we have, the lifestyle diseases, are down to what we put in our bodies. And one of the main problems is that the amount of hormones that are pumped into animals. So when you eat the meat, the cheese, the milk, the yogurt, you are absorbing those hormones.
Do you follow this diet, Pete?
No. I do try and eat healthily, and but I don't cut out the meat. However, the meat we buy is from an ecological butcher's, so it's not fed with chemicals or anything. It's the animals have lived a healthy life, and we eat a lot of fish. We both like fish and seafood, and so it's not too complicated actually to prepare meals for us.
And what's your typical day like? Is it similar to Sheila's?
No, probably not. Not as well organised as Sheila's at all. I mean, we're both into health and fitness, so I do some fitness work, either running along the beach, cycling, or exercising most days. I'm also in stamp collecting, so I spend a lot of my time surfing the internet on eBay, buying and selling stamps, which keeps me busy.
And you're also interested in cricket, is that right?
That's right, yeah. As I said...
Tell us about your cricket club.
As a sporty person, I try and play any sport I can. If somebody asks me if I'd like to play anything, I'd give it a go, even if I've never played it before. But cricket is certainly one of my loves. And when we moved to Spain, I thought, that's it, I'd never play cricket again. It's,
not a country known for its cricket,
well known for its cricket at all. But 3 years ago, I found that there was a club in Valencia, and joined up with them. And it's been a great success. The club only started about 4 years ago, and we now have 3 teams, two teams that play in the league and another team that plays friendlies against touring teams from the UK. And we play from March. We played our first game over the Easter weekend. We play from March till really the end of October, beginning of November.
You've got the good weather over here, so it's perfect.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
and the Spanish do think we're rather mad when in the middle of August and it's 38 degrees and we're standing out in the field running after a ball. But we're English, we do things like that.
There's the beer after, which is always consolation.
Yes, that's an important part of the game.
So is the club specifically for English expats, or do you accept?
Not at all. No, we're actually a very an international club. We've got people from Britain, obviously, but also from Australia, New Zealand, India, Pakistan. We've got an Italian, Spanish, West Indian. So it's very, very multinational.
And if someone was interested in joining your club, where would they go to find you?
Yeah, we're always looking out for new players. As many players as we can get, we can find a game for, and the standard doesn't matter because we have a couple of players that play for the Spanish national team. Down to people who've never played before. So we welcome anybody to come along. We train in the Turia, the riverbed, at the Club de Baseball every Thursday night from 8 till 10. And we've also got a club website, which you can find all the details on, which is levantecc.com, if I can advertise.
Of course, levantecc.com, and I will put that link in the show notes, which you can find at inglespodcast.com/Sheila and Pete.
Please come along. It's a very social club, so you're guaranteed to have some fun, if nothing else.
So, generally speaking, you two, are you where you wanted to be at this stage in your life? Are you happy where you are?
I think for me, I think so. Yes, I always had. I was born in Malta and spent a lot of my childhood there, and always envisaged that at some point I would come back to the Mediterranean at least, if not Malta itself. And I also always wanted to retire early, and I was lucky enough to do both. So I'm more than happy.
And play cricket,
cricket as well. Yes, that's right. Yep.
Sheila, what about you? Are you happy with the way things have gone so far?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm just totally blessed where I live now, so close to the beach. I have the free time. I'm just truly blessed and full of gratitude for my life.
That's lovely to hear. Excellent. on to the final section, I'd like to ask you some quick-fire hot seat questions so you can answer these as briefly or with as much detail as you like. I'll leave it up to you. Sheila, what makes you happy?
Lots of things make me happy. Sunshine, being close to the beach, enjoying a nice meal and a glass of wine with some friends, nice, good piece of music. Yeah, just normal, everyday things, and I like to think I appreciate them.
Pete, what about you?
Probably good food and good wine, which you can get in abundance out here in Spain. So I'm very lucky.
What annoys you?
I'm tempted to say Americans, but that may be a little bit.
Why would you say our American cousins? What's the reason for that? I try not to be racist here, but it's just that they are so full of themselves. They are always noisy. When you're sitting. Let's be clear. We're speaking about North Americans here because we do have some South American listeners that I would not like to offend.
Oh, absolutely no. I don't include South Americans at all in that. No. It's just wherever you are, and it's very noticeable here in Valencia.
There aren't that many Americans,
but you can hear them wherever you are. If you're in a restaurant, if you're sitting on the beach, and you hear English voices, it's an American sitting somewhere talking loudly.
But isn't that their expression of self-confidence?
And I do apologise to all Americans, by the way.
Isn't that an expression of self-confidence? And
I try to analyse it. I think that's my issue. Is that I have a problem with people who are so full of themselves that they want everybody else to know how good they are.
So big egos then?
Yeah.
People with big egos.
Yeah. I think that fits the American psyche, but obviously not every American.
Sheila, do you share Pete's view of Americans?
I'm sitting here cringing. No, I do not.
Please help me get our American listeners back.
Absolutely, yeah. Please just ignore everything my husband has spoken. We have some American friends, and they are really, really lovely people.
Are they loud?
No, I know some English people who are definitely a lot louder, so I would say no. So, any Americans listening to this, do not listen to a single word my husband has just said.
English people can get fairly loud after a few drinks, I've noticed.
Well, that's when we get embarrassing.
They can, and actually that's another thing that annoys me is it's generally people that are too loud and have no self-control.
Well, that's probably why you came to such a nice, calm, quiet city.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sheila, what annoys you?
What annoys me? I think people really just not using their common sense. I think I'm very much an observer. I can often sort of sit back and watch, having a cup of coffee, just watching what people do. And I'm very much, well, if they did that, that would make their life a lot easier. Can they not see that? So I think it's people just not using their common sense in day-to-day life. We all want to get through the day as easily and unscathed as possible, but sometimes people can you just not see what you're doing? That is just going to make life easy or more difficult for somebody else. And just take a minute, just stop, think it through, and I'm sure you'll see the error of your ways.
Pete, what's your favourite Spanish dish?
My favourite Spanish dish is probably puntillas, actually. Or
puntillas? I don't think I've heard of.
It's baby squid done in batter.
Okay.
Chipollones is without the batter. Puntillas is with the batter, as far as I know.
I didn't know that. Okay. I've learned something. Sheila?
I think for me, prior to going plant-based, it would have been tortilla. But of course, tortilla has eggs, so I don't eat that anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think really just any fresh fish, any seafood, yeah, that with a bit of salad, fantastic.
If you could go back to your late teens, early 20s, what advice would you give yourselves?
I think for me, it would be travel more. It took me a long time. I got married, had a family, which makes travel difficult, especially in the 70s. But I wish I'd got out and about when I was younger, and that my children experienced travelling as well, more than they did.
You're making up for it, though.
Absolutely, yeah. That's our joint goal, if you like, now is to try and see as many places in the world as possible.
Mm-hmm.
whilst we still can.
Sheila?
I think when I was a teenager, you're very much worried about what other people think of you. I would like to think I don't worry too much about that now, because in reality, everybody's more worried about what they're doing and how people are perceiving them to worry about you. But I think, just worry less and just, maybe a bit truer to yourself than try and fit in with people and be with the latest gang. And, it's that type of thing it is when you're at school. So, I think, just don't worry about everybody else. They're all worried about themselves. They don't care about you. And just, do your own thing.
Be yourself, do your own thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good advice. Pete, how would your friends describe you?
Oof, tough question. You're probably best asking my friends. Probably fairly chilled, laid back, and hopefully quite sociable.
Sheila?
That is such an easy question for me. I have a very good friend who has known me since I was 18. And if he was here, he would have no hesitation in saying it was a good idea at the time. Mm-hmm. And he said that will be on my gravestone, because although I'm a very organised person, I can sometimes just go completely the other way and, let's just go and do this. Yeah, so... Yeah, it was a good idea at the time. And sometimes when I've done things like that, they haven't worked out for the best. But hey, I'm here to tell the tale, so it wasn't that dramatic.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I do have to rein her in occasionally, but I think more of a description of Sheila is just totally organised.
Yeah, that's the thing that comes across to me as well. Very organised. As you've both become older, what has become more important to you and what's become less important to you? For example, you said it's more important for you to travel more now. How have your habits changed over time is really the question.
I think as I got older, I realised I'm no longer immortal.
I've realised that too now. You don't think of that when you're 20,
when you're 20-something, you certainly are immortal. So I do think more about my health and living a healthy lifestyle. But in every other respect, in my mind, I'm still 20. So
fantastic. And Sheila, I think probably similar with your plant-based diet as well.
I think for me, I have got a bucket list. I mean, there was a great film with Jack Nicholson and who was the other? Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. And this film, I think everybody should watch this film. And it's basically the story of two guys. They're terminally ill and they make a bucket list and they go out there and do it.
We should explain the bucket list as a list of things that you should do. A bucket
list of things you want to experience, travel you want to do before you die, maybe things you want to own. And I've got a huge bucket list. And I actually sat down the other day and I did like a reverse bucket list. It was a list of the places I've been to, the experiences I've had, maybe things I've owned in the past. And when I looked at this whole A4 sheet covered with things, I was almost in tears with how lucky have I been. I've actually done all this stuff and hopefully I'm going to be around for another 40 years. And when you look back on the things you have done, it was just incredible. And I just thought I was the luckiest person alive. Yeah.
So it's a very good exercise to do, actually, I think, to show thankfulness and appreciation for what you have got and what you have done does really raise your spirits and make you happier.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, we're always sort of, particularly with the bucket list, you're looking towards the future, for things. But sometimes if you look back at the experiences, the people that have come into your life, maybe for a long time, a short time, and you think, my God, I've done all this, how lucky am I? Mm-hmm. And you're looking at the positives and it just makes your heart overflow.
Well, I think that's a wonderful place to leave it. So thank you both very much for joining us and hopefully see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Thank you. I really enjoyed talking to Sheila and Pete, two lovely people who are really enjoying life in Spain. Thank you for listening. You can find more podcasts to improve your English at inglespodcast.com. And you can study English free at mansioningles.com. If you have any comments, questions or feedback about this podcast, send me an email to Craig, Craig, @inglespodcast.com. inglespodcast.com or leave a comment on the website at inglespodcast.com.